Hello and welcome to the Low Code Podcast. I'm Faraz from iTrack, Global OutSystems Recruitment Specialist. With this podcast, our aim is to increase awareness and appreciation of OutSystems and its impact and benefits to the market. And our early adoption is giving competitive edge to businesses worldwide. During our podcast, myself and my colleague, Sushil Chauhan, will be speaking to IT leaders and OutSystems MVPs on how OutSystems has transformed their businesses and careers. We also hope that by speaking to MVPs on their career journeys, we can inspire developers from all over the world to learn from others who have already been on the path. So let's go. Hello and welcome to the Low Code Podcast. I'm Faraz, and in today's episode, we'll be speaking to Nuno Reis, OutSystems MVP. How are you, Nuno?
I'm fine, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Great to have you as a guest. Let's start with finding out a bit more about yourself, your background.
Okay, I was never a person who knew what I wanted in life, so I chose my degree maybe the day before the application. I chose computer science because I knew I wanted something in the science area, but I wasn't sure what science. It was probably something with mathematics or computers around that area. I chose by order a few options. I got in my first option, and I was, first years I wasn't that great, but after the third year I was doing things the right way. And I was lucky to find an internship at Superboc, a company I always wanted to work for. And I got there and stayed there for 12 years.
Wow.
So yes, most of the technologies I've met and still work with, I learned there. So I was directed in the right direction from the start. I think that's the right way to describe it.
Sure. And what technology did you start off with?
My internship was in Java. I was doing a project with JSP, a bit of Flash, that technology by now, and XML to communicate between them. Then I was, it's a story that needs some context. I joined them in 2005. And there was a big project going on for sales. It handled almost half the sales of the group. Superboc is a beer company from the Carlsberg Group. It's the biggest brand of beverages in Portugal.
Sure.
So they had a huge project for sales that blocked the development team. So they hired me and I was managing the old portals, some made in Cold Fusion. And my start was on that area. So I was directed to the web from the start. Then I did a bit of reporting services. And then there was a huge brain drain. I think that's the expression in 2008, 2009.
Yeah.
And we lost several members. And I got to work in Beanstalk. It's a middleware technology that transforms one file into another, like the XSLTs.
Yeah.
So again, I was working with XML and I was dragging lines in Beanstalk.
Sure.
So when the company decided to invest in OutSystems, it was 2010, 2011. I was the guy that worked in web and that knew how to drag lines.
Sure.
So they gave me OutSystems to try. I was asked to do a fleet management portal. And before I had the requirements meeting, I had implemented the portal and got the requirements and said, okay, I've done exactly that. Do you want to watch it now?
Sure.
Yeah, it was, as you can see, love at first sight.
Yeah, I can imagine. So you've been using it since version 5.1?
Yes, I started in April, I think 2011.
Yeah.
And I think version 6 was out, but our company was in 5 back then, 5.1.
And how do you see the changes since then to now in OutSystems?
It's been a huge improvement over the years. I
Yeah.
think the big one was the end of enterprise management manager and start with users. That completely changed the foundation of the platform. I still see enterprise in a lot of places because companies that start 10 years ago are almost locked on that model. They don't want to change what is working now. But in every new project, when I get enterprise to work with, I'm a lot more relieved.
Yeah, sure.
But after that, I can't say there was one big improvement. I remember that when we were in version 7, I think, I needed to do an offline application for a tablet, and there was no mobile in OutSystems.
Sure.
So I need to develop a web page with a lot of JavaScript to store information locally, and then synchronize with the server when it could find Wi-Fi.
Yeah. Wow.
So that was a big change that affected my work. I wish it had arrived a year later or year earlier or two,
Sure.
because I needed that offline capability as it should be.
Sure. Sure. And how did you? What made you think? I'm going to stick with OutSystems. This is a technology, for me, and not think, let me go back to something else or try something else.
Well, since I started my company, maybe 50% of my clients are people I worked with before. So they knew me from working with web technologies. So I used some CRMs and developed in SharePoint. So I was the web guy, not
Yeah.
only.
Yeah.
So I had a few clients in SharePoint and one I think in Beanstalk, but all the others it's OutSystems because when it comes the time to choose between two projects,
Yeah.
the OutSystems one.
Yeah. Of course. Okay.
You need
Great.
to know what's about. It will be better than anything else.
Sure. Sure. And you said you were, so you're part of the first batch of MVPs in 2016. So how did that come about?
Again, I will say it was almost destiny
Okay.
because the first boot camp I went to, I was new in the technology, so I read all the rules. They say
Sure.
you need to do the online courses, watch the videos, do a project by yourself, and checklist done, everything.
Sure.
I went
So
there, and I think it was me, another person who worked in OutSystems that knew the platform. The others were in the bootcamp to learn it from scratch.
sure.
So I was a bit ahead of the class. I could, how can I say, I used my time better. I
Yeah.
met
Sure.
Mario Araújo, one of the oldest employees of
Yeah.
OutSystems,
Yeah.
and he saw I was investing in the technology. I was, well,
Putting in the time.
yes, I
Yeah.
was an advocate for the technology because I really liked what I was seeing from, I don't know, 4 months because when I was at Superboc, I was never 100% in OutSystems. I
Sure.
was working everything at the same time. I was the web and integration team. So for 4 months, I have done maybe 2 projects, small ones,
Sure.
and I was really interested doing questions, and it started there because then I was invited to do an early access project. It was, I think it was version 7 for Java, because
Yeah.
Java back then was one version delayed comparing with .NET, and I was testing the Java 7, I think, or maybe 8. It was
Sure.
a long time ago.
Yeah.
And from that moment, I was always on an early adopter, and there was also a competition that year, the next year, where we need to reference new users to OutSystems, and I think I ended in second place worldwide with
Nice. Very good.
most shared link.
Yeah.
So I was doing the right thing at the right time, meeting the right people.
Sure.
When Mario talked to me in 2016 to become an MVP, I was a bit, why me?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
back then in Porto, there weren't a lot of people working in OutSystems.
Sure.
I knew most of the people, maybe 50% have worked with me
Yeah,
somehow. Uh, then I started to go to some next steps. I've been to one or two before
yeah,
and meeting people, and I said, okay, maybe they are like me. I just
yeah, yeah,
haven't met them before.
yeah, yeah,
But I think it was that the
yeah.
right time, the right people. I was very active in the forum
Mhm.
because I think back then everyone was starting. So we all had the same questions. We have been at the same place a month or two before.
Sure.
This year, I think the same happened because when the the lockdown was
Yes,
worldwide phenomena,
yes,
and OutSystems gave some free vouchers to training.
yes, yes.
There was a huge surge in new members.
Mhm.
And back then, I was also number one in the forum for about a month because the questions were always the same. And the moment you answer to one person, you can answer 5 times more in 2 weeks.
Yeah, you're not only answering one
Yeah,
for one
you have the
person.
answer. And I think back then, 2011, 12, it was the same thing.
Mm,
I was always seeing the same question, and I was placing new questions because no one have done that scenario before.
sure, sure. So is that part of the being an MVP? Obviously, there's obviously responsibilities on you as a senior OutSystems person.
Uh, I do this the same way I did it before
Yeah.
because before that I was in the forum trying to help people,
Mhm.
and I still do that when
Yeah.
I can. I'm usually top 20 or top 30 every week.
Mhm.
Then I organize the user group in Porto that we are trying to do more global events. Now we
Sure.
do it in Portugal because considering everyone is at home, we can do one event instead of three or four
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
country. Uh, and that's it. I spoke at a few events also at the universities, but it doesn't change what we do. Yes, I have free training and I have access to more information, but my job is still the same. The difference is that I'm in a special page
Yeah, sure.
that I've done it for a while.
That's good. Do you find obviously with COVID, there's a lot more people available to attend and join user groups and trainings.
Yeah, we've done a special Portugal edition before COVID,
Mm,
and we had 4 cities connected, and
mm,
we each one had a local session, and then there was a global session that everyone watched at the same time. And back then it was very nice. It was
mm,
the Christmas edition, so everyone was together,
sure.
like the OutSystems family, for
Mm,
the last time in 2019.
yeah, yeah.
Then we started 2020, and our first event was in March. It was scheduled for the March 12th, I think. And suddenly we started lockdown on the 16th. So that event was already online
Yeah,
to
sure.
avoid some nice surprises that
Yeah,
we
of course. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
per month. Yeah. So we've done one online event that was good. And the next one was, well, mandatory
Yeah,
online.
of course. Yeah, yeah. You have no
People
other choice.
already, yeah, they already had that previous experience,
Mm.
so it went well.
One thing, we find when we speak to a lot of developers who've not, you know, come across OutSystems is they're worrying about, affecting their skill set. What's your kind of, message to those people who are hesitant to learn OutSystems or, even try getting certified and giving it a go?
When I started, for me, was similar to what I was doing before. I was
Mm.
never a coder in the traditional
Yeah,
way. I
sure.
was doing maintenance to existing portals or creating copies of them, nothing that original. So that changes your mindset.
Sure.
You no longer have to follow everyone rules.
Mm.
You can start by your own rules and learn the technology, learn a new way of implementing full portals and applications, and later with a team you can improve your teamwork abilities. I think it doesn't change anything on who you are.
Mm.
It's like learning a new programming language. You may
Yeah,
never use it, but it changes your mindset. It
sure,
allows you to think in different ways. And if you can implement an algorithm just by dragging circles, you can implement it in code if you want, but at least your mind has a blank board to draw.
sure, sure. And how do you think, obviously, without systems, and especially with lockdown and this pandemic, it's, changing the landscape for customers?
Yes, I've felt some differences because on my pre-COVID clients, I have
Mm.
usually 20% remote work,
Sure,
unless it was in a different country that it could go to 50 or 100%.
sure.
Usually we had to be at the office. And right now, well, since March, I've been to the office once. Yeah.
A lot more people are open to remote
Yeah,
working.
we have to work remotely. Our team meetings sometimes get a bit longer because I
Mm.
think we lost those coffee talk moments. And
Yeah, sure,
sometimes after meetings, we stay on talking for extra half an hour because we need that social moments.
sure.
That's why we have to improvise. Right now, I'm not working from home. I'm at the co-work because once a
Yep,
month I go out just to see new faces.
sure.
And I think everyone needs to adapt when possible.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, yeah. And do you think that's obviously there's a lot of people who are working from home at the moment, so it helps to see faces sometimes.
Yeah, at least
Yeah,
different faces.
yeah,
A common complaint is I'm always seeing my partner or my parents or my kids are always around me.
sure, sure.
People need to see new faces. They
Yeah,
need some me time. Sometimes even the commute, 20 minutes in the car or walking is
mm,
enough for you to clear your mind
yeah,
and
of course.
anything else.
Sure.
And we miss those moments.
Yeah, of course. Of
So
course.
you need to create new moments and new people. But in terms of work, real work, I think the only difference may be on the hiring process that you need to do it like we are doing this.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah,
camera. You
yeah.
talk with someone you've never seen before. You can't feel the full reaction. You don't see the movements because I'm
Yeah, yeah,
off
yeah, yeah,
camera.
yeah.
This part, I
You
think,
don't know. You don't know what's going on neck down.
yeah. So I can be completely shaking right now.
Yeah,
I have no idea because I have a stabilizer on the camera.
of course. Yeah,
Everything's
exactly.
fine. So these initial contacts will be harder, especially if it's first work or the first interviews you're having.
Mm.
But I think after 2 or 3 months, you already know the people you work with. You can talk with them by the phone, by a camera. You can just write and
Yeah,
chat.
of course. Yeah, yeah,
I think work changed, but we can adapt to that.
of
Just
course.
for those first job or first interview, there's a big step to give. After
Of course.
that, it's easy to walk.
It's gonna become the new normal anyway.
Yes,
Yeah,
I think we will change to work from home
yeah.
at least in a 50% basis.
We're finding, a lot more customers are open to, work from home now than before, because, and it also helps when looking for out systems candidates, especially senior candidates. They're not all in the same country. So with customers being open to more remote now, it's a lot easier to find candidates who can, deliver their projects for them. Where before, like you said, most customers, once you're sitting in the desk in front of them, coming to the office.
On my Portuguese projects, I was always at the client's office, at
Yeah,
least part of the time.
yeah.
But I've worked in the Netherlands. I was there maybe half the time, and I had a project in the United States. I never went there,
Mm,
sadly.
mm.
I'm constantly saying, well, after the lockdown, I'm in the foreign
Yeah.
client. I never did because This
Yeah,
year,
yeah,
terrible for that.
exactly. Yeah,
The Google Maps activity usually is like you've been to Italy, you've been to Croatia, you've been to Switzerland. This year
it's
is
very quiet.
supermarkets. For
it's,
you.
it's probably saying you're not moving enough. So speaking about obviously OutSystems, they released quite a few features recently. If you could just talk us through, your thoughts on, what you think are the key features and the benefits of, they've got, the new builders, workflow builders, for example, and how do you think that's benefiting, you know, clients?
The first big change of this version 11 was the machine learning. I think
Yes,
people were almost ignoring it. It was a buzzword, if you can say so. Everyone is doing artificial intelligence, everyone
sure,
is machine learning. OutSystems said we are investing millions on this. This is the future. This is the way. And everyone was, why?
yeah,
You don't create applications, you create a tool. Well, I think by now OutSystems proved that even tools can learn something from their users because slowly they can guess what we will need next. And I think with time, this will be a key feature. Everyone will feel that is natural, that the tool complements the programmer. So this one, I think we should always refer because it will be huge when it's mature enough.
sure,
And of the later ones, I think Workflow Builder, yes, is the big one. I've tried a bit of it in its early days.
sure,
And I've always been against the citizen developer that they speak about because for you to have a citizen developer, you need a real programmer or an architect implementing what the citizen can use.
sure,
Make it safe, to make it easier, to make it maintainable, scalable. All the buzzwords need to be done by someone that knows what they are doing.
yeah,
So a citizen developer can develop without thinking about that because they don't have the skills and the knowledge to worry with what they should. So when I see a workflow builder, I say, okay, we are not talking about implementing BPTs. We are using normal language, and you have the right title when you need to select a template. So people can get there, they drag a few things and say, this is what I want. And then someone else will implement exactly what they draw, like in their favorite workflow
sure,
designer tools. And it's already in the OutSystems ecosystem. So this one is a game changer, I think.
okay,
It can replace several. I'm not saying competitors because OutSystems is ahead of the local systems, so they are almost competing for new segments and
yeah,
with some easy to use portals and CMSs. They need to win that fight to expand the universe.
sure,
And this workflow builder is the best way to start. It's ahead of what Google and Amazon are trying to call local.
sure,
So OutSystems is leading on the regular developer and is giving the right step into the citizen developer.
sure. And do you see any other key features that are really, benefiting, customers?
Well, right now, everything can be a game changer feature.
Mm,
I'm not completely up to date with the new features
sure,
because I need to adapt to what my client has.
of
Sometimes
course,
I
yeah,
have a client on the first installation doing an EAP for some new feature, and sometimes I have a client with 15 years of OutSystems and legacy systems.
mm,
So we need to adapt. And
sure,
the best feature is that in a week, I can see all the videos, tutorials, and master classes of some
mm,
new feature. I've read the documentation and I'm ready to implement.
sure,
Sometimes I like to call the disposable proof of concept because I
sure,
implement the project. Okay, I know how this works. Now I'll start again. I only
yeah,
lost a week or two, and
yeah,
I'm doing a 4-month project already knowing all the features that I'll be using because
sure,
I did my project similar to the final one.
sure, sure. Got you. And in regards to, obviously, you've been an MVP for nearly 4 years now. So kind of what's your plans going forward? What's your aspirations within OutSystems?
When I started my own company, it was 3 years ago, and my goal is to expand it slowly. Every year, getting a person or two. Right now, we are two. Probably in a few months, we'll be three.
Sure.
So grow slow and steady, as they say. The pandemic changed the plans a bit.
Yeah.
But I think in the IT world, we are not limited by the rules of the others.
Sure.
We are always out of crisis.
Do you think that could potentially benefit where, more, as the world is more open to remote, it could help with, getting larger projects and, more clients being open to, using teams from anywhere around the world?
Yes, I was in a project last year for the United States where we had teams in almost every continent.
Wow.
I was doing daily calls with Brazil. We had people in Colombia, people that were in the States but were from Africa, and there was also a team in India. So
A lot of time zones to manage.
Time zones, yeah.
Yeah.
We could work together. I think
Sure.
that's the wonders of the IT world. You can work from home. You need to be online, but doesn't need to be physically in place. You set a VPN and are ready to go.
Sure.
We are in the right way. I think again, developers were the most flexible to work from home because it was part of the perks.
Yeah.
You have 1 or 2 days a week that you stay home, and now everyone is to stay home, but we are playing in the home field.
Yeah, of course.
The international projects will be the same. Travel will happen someday.
Eventually, yeah.
Not as often as before, but yes.
A lot more Zoom calls, I reckon.
Yes.
Yes.
Too much Zoom calls. We have to diversify.
Yeah, exactly. Amazing. Well, thanks, Nuno. I think it's been great speaking to you. Found out a lot of, good information. And hopefully one day, we'll be able to meet and catch up. Until then, it'll be Zoom. But thanks for your time.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening to the latest episode of the Low Code Podcast, hosted by iTrack, Global OutSystems Recruitment Specialist. Be sure to subscribe and see you next time.